I really do believe that we now firmly live in an era where ideas have greater value than execution. And what you're talking about was learning and kind of increasing your capacity to generate a great idea uh, has a much higher payoff than most people realize. Because when we built Satellite, we worked a long time with an external development company called HashRocket,
Mhm.
incredibly high-end Ruby on Rails development firm. The execution was paid for, and the
Mm.
ideas flowed into that execution uh, tool, not tool, but that group of people who were awesome at execution. Now, we were not HashRocket's only client. So that same execution had other ideas flowing into it, right? Some of those projects went on to be very successful products. Some of those
Mm.
projects didn't go anywhere, just were middle of the road. So the execution in that case, and we worked with several different developers within HashRocket. All of them were outstanding, same developers that everybody else worked with.
Mm.
But our ideas at that period of time were much better than any of the other ideas flowing into that development organization. And therefore, our product was much more successful than any of the other products that were being developed at that time. So execution, we get so stuck on the concept of quality execution. I think people fail to realize that execution breaks down really quickly when ideas suck or when they're vapid of details and vapid of substance and
Mm.
let's call it answerability. So if we said, if you go to look at the difference between Square and like Bank of America's mobile payment systems. At Square,
Mm.
the concept of we want to build a mobile payment system, you could sit down with the person who says that's the strategy and ask them hundreds of questions, and they will give you great answers to all of those questions. And if you sit down with the head of Bank of America's group that was building their mobile payment solution, you could ask them like those same hundreds of questions, and the person proposing the strategy couldn't answer any of them. They don't know anything
Mm.
about there's no substance to the idea. So people would amateurishly label those as the same idea. No, that would be like saying it's
Mm.
the same, uh, you know, it's the same golf club or the same car or the same soccer ball because they kind of like look the same. They both have four
Yeah.
wheels. They both have a horn. They both have windows. So they're both cars. They're both no. One
Trying to
is a
compare wrong
Ferrari,
things.
and right, yeah. So ideas, the headline of an idea is not the idea. Ideas have an amount of substance, an amount of detail, an amount of intellectualism that sits
Mm.
within them, and therefore, great ideas are actually extremely rare because these are not the same idea, even though the headline is the same. This one is a much better idea than this one. And then when you move to execution, execution under Bank of America has to make up for the vapidness baked into the idea, the fact that all these missing details in the idea itself have to be figured out in
Mm.
execution. Whereas over here in Square, during execution, it's really clear, like, well, these are all the things we got to build. These are all
Yeah.
the APIs we need to generate. This is all the legal stuff you got. Like, it's really clear how to
Mm.
execute that
Mm.
idea. So again, execution is a commodity. Now, like earlier, some of the people down in execution are not a commodity and they're awesome. But HashRocket kind of demonstrates what I am trying to say, that they're definitely not a commodity offering. They're elite offering. However,
Mm.
multiple clients could have them at the same time. So it does kind of suggest at least a certain amount that what I'm saying here has some legs, that if
Mm.
multiple clients can work with the same developers we worked with, have the same execution
Mm.
we had, then all of a sudden we need to look upstream at what ideas flowing into that execution to realize,
Right.
oh, wow, some of those ideas are much better than others. So I think
Mhm.
that's kind of the thing. Becoming a great learner helps you generate less vapid, more complete, more calibrated, more brilliant ideas. And you
Mm.
should start to treat the execution. It's still very important. You have to make the thing, obviously, but
Mm.
you want the making part to be much easier, not much harder.
Yeah.